Welcome to my channel, Crochet for Baby. Thanks for watching. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet these little pants to match the little jacket that I showed you last week. Many of you requested that I make the matching pants, so here they are, and I hope you like them. Make sure to comment below and let me know what you want me to make next to complete this little set. Now, the little pants along with the little jacket are for baby girls between 9 and 12 months old, but you can also make them smaller or bigger. I'd say between 6 and 9 months old up to 18 to 24 months. Down here in the information box, I'm going to leave some information on how you can make them smaller or bigger, so be sure to check that out. Also, if you prefer a written pattern, check out my Etsy shop. I'll go ahead and leave the link in the information box below. Now, at the end of the tutorial, I leave you the finished measurements, and remember, all of my tutorials are always in English and in Spanish. Okay, so let's get started. Don't forget to subscribe, share this tutorial, and if you like this video, click the like button. Thanks for watching. Okay, to begin, I'll be using this 3.5mm crochet hook, and today I'm using this number 3 yarn. You can also use any DK weight yarn. I'll be using in this white color for the waistband and pink for the rest of the baby pants. So here, to begin, I have a total of 102 chains. This chain here is measuring about 20.5 centimeters, which is about 52 inches. Now, if you're off by 1 or 2 centimeters, it's okay. Just continue with the next step. So here, to begin, we're going to join to the first chain. Make sure you do this so that the chain is not twisted. So join to the first chain. Grab a loop. We're joined. Now chain 1. Now yarn over, insert your hook through this last chain and through the first chain. Grab a loop. I have 3 loops on the hook, close. Here what I'm going to do is 1 half double crochet on each chain. You can also do double crochets if it's easier. I'm going to do half double crochets. This is going to be the waistband, so it doesn't matter if you do double crochets or half double crochets like I'm going to do. So continue and make 1 half double crochet on each one of the chains. At the end of this first row, we're going to have 102 half double crochets. Continue, and I will meet you at the end of this first row. Okay, I finished this first row. I have a total of 102 half double crochets. To finish, go on top of the first half double crochet and join with a slip stitch. Now for the second row, chain 1, and here to begin, in this second row, we're going to make front post and back post half double crochet. So beginning into this first half double crochet, make a front post half double crochet. Into the next, back post half double crochet. Into the next, front post half double crochets. Next one, back post half double crochet, and the next one, front post. This is all we're going to do for this second row. Continue, and I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of this second row. To finish this row, all you're going to do is just go on top of the first half double crochet and join with a slip stitch. Now for rows 3, 4, and 5, you're going to repeat the same thing. You're going to chain 1 and then work a front post half double crochet, back post half double crochet, front post half double crochet, and back post, and so on. This is how you're going to continue, just alternating between front post and back post half double crochets. Now when you finish this row, you're going to join here to the side on top of the first half double crochet right there. See, to the side of the chain, then chain 1 and then repeat the same thing for row 4 and 5. We're going to do this part here for a total of 5 rows, so continue and I'll meet you at the end of the 5th row. Okay, I finished making my waistband here. I just joined to the beginning with a slip stitch, cut my yarn, and passed my yarn through this last loop. Now, this part here is measuring about 1.5 inches. If you want to make it wider, then just go ahead and continue and add more rows. Now, what we're going to do here is from now on, this is where I finish, is going to be the top of the waistband. So we're going to turn this like this, and we're going to go right here. This is where we started. This yarn here was left when I started my chain, so right next to it, right here, insert your hook there. I'm going to use this pink yarn, and I'm going to do this with a 3mm crochet hook. So the waistband, we did it with a 3.5mm. I'm going to now continue with this 3mm hook. If you're using any other size to make it smaller or bigger, just go down half a hook size. So here, what we're going to do is I'm going to chain one, and into this same space here I'm going to make a half double crochet, and then in between the next two right here make another half double crochet. Here we're going to make half double crochets in between the front posts and back post, half double crochets, and at the end we're going to have 102 half double crochets. So like this in between. Now continue like this, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. Okay, I'm here at the end of this row of half double crochets. I have a total of 102. Remember, we did this row with a 3mm crochet hook. From here on, we're going to continue with this hook. Now to finish, go on top of the first half double crochet and join with a slip stitch. Now for the first row, we're going to start counting rows because we're going to start using our pattern stitch. So here I chained 4, and into this same stitch here make a double crochet. This here is a V-stitch. Now I'm going to skip 1, 2, and into the third stitch here, the third half double crochet, I'm going to make a fan. Each one of these fans is going to consist of 2 double crochets, 1 chain, 2 double crochets. Now skip 1, 2, and into the third make a V-stitch. Each one of the V-stitch is going to consist of a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. These are the 2 stitches that we're going to use from here on. Now again, skip 1, 2, and into the third make a fan. Again, skip 1, 2, and into the third make a V-stitch. Now you're just going to continue like this from here on, alternating between a fan and a V-stitch, and always separated by 2 half double crochets. I'll meet you at the end of this first row. Okay, I'm here at the end of this first row. This is where we started our first row in this pattern. Now to finish, we're going to go here to the side of the 4 chains and join with a slip stitch. And this is how I finished this first row. Now I have a total of 34 stitches all around. Just for reference, I have 17 V-stitches and 17 fans. Now for the second row, we're going to chain 3, and inside this V-stitch here, make a double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochets. This here is a fan. In this second row, I'm going to start with a fan. In the next row, you're going to start with a V. Now for this row, inside the fans, you're going to make V-stitches. And inside the V-stitches, you're going to make fans. This is how you're going to continue for the rest of this second row. V-stitch, fan, all the way to the end. I'll meet you at the end of this second row. I'm here at the end of this second row. I have a total of 34 stitches. To finish this row, we're going to go right here to the side of the 3 chains and join with a slip stitch. Now for row 3, we're going to start with a V-stitch. So make a slip stitch inside this fan, chain 4, and make a double crochet. Here's the V-stitch. Now on top of the V-stitch, make a fan. Inside the fan, make a V-stitch, and so on. This is how you're going to continue for the rest of this third row. Fan, V-stitch, fan, V-stitch. Continue, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. I'm here at the end of this third row. Now to finish this row, I'm going to go here to the side where I have these 4 chains and join with a slip stitch. And this is how I finish this third row with a total of 34 stitches. From here on, like I said, we're always going to have 34 stitches at the end of every row. So now from here on, we're going to repeat these 2 rows. So the next row that I have to do is the fan row, where I start with a fan. So here, chain 3, and inside this V-stitch, make a double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochets. Here's the fan. Now inside the fan, make a V-stitch and so on. From here on, you already know how the pattern goes. Fan V, fan V, fan V, and so on. When you finish this row, you're going to go here to the side with a slip stitch, and then you're going to finish that 4th row. And then the next row, row 5, you're going to start with a V-stitch. You're going to make a slip stitch inside this chain 1 space of this fan, chain 4, and then do a double crochet and then continue with the pattern. I'm not exactly sure how many rows I'm going to do from here on, but continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many rows we're going to do, and all we're going to do is just repeat these last 2 rows. I'll meet you at the end of that row. Okay, I finished making this part. This is what it looks like now. From here where we started the first row to this pattern up to the last row, I have 16 rows, and it's measuring from the top of the waistband to the end of this 16th row. It's measuring about 21.5 centimeters, which is about 8.5 inches. Now what we're going to do is we're going to divide the legs. So here we have a total of 34 stitches all around. So what I've done here is I finished right here, right to the side of these 3 chains, and right next to them I have 2 V-stitches, so I put 2 stitch markers on each side. Now for each one of the legs we're going to have 14 stitches, and for the front part I've also marked 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then again for this leg 14 stitches. So we have 14, 14, 3 for the back and 3 for the front. Now to divide the legs, this is what we're going to do. This is where I finished. I'm going to make a slip stitch here inside this chain 1 space of this same fan. Now chain 3, and into this same space here I'm going to make 3 double crochets. In total, including the 3 chains, I'm going to have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now into this V-stitch here I'm going to make a V-stitch. Make sure that you make these double crochets nice and long, nice and loose, to add a bit here more to the crotch area. Now chain 1, skip these 14 stitches, and into this stitch after the stitch marker right here, make a V-stitch. Now into this V-stitch here we're going to make 4 double crochets. Now we have the next fan here, make a V-stitch. So here we have V-stitch, a fan of 4 double crochets, and then a V-stitch. To divide the other leg, chain 1, skip these 14 stitches, and into the stitch after the stitch marker, which is a V-stitch, make a V-stitch. Now to finish, go here to the side where we have the 3 chains and join with a slip stitch. Now cut your yarn and pass your yarn through this last loop. Make sure you leave a nice long tail like this, because we're going to use this to seam this gap that we have left here. Now this here is the opening of one of the legs. If you feel that you need to add more to the opening here, go ahead and add more chains right here. And that way this part here is going to be wider and it's not going to be as tight. I'm doing this based on standard size measurements. For me, this is fine, but if you have your baby and you want to try this on, go ahead and do so. Make sure that this part here is wide enough for the legs to go through and it's not too tight. So you can adjust right here by adding more chains. Now, this part here is done, so we're going to continue with this side. This here is the back side, so we're going to do the left side. So insert your hook back into this V-stitch right here. It's the same one where I did this V-stitch. I'm going to grab a loop here and I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And into this same stitch here, make a double crochet. Now we have the fan here. We're going to continue with the same pattern, V stitches inside the fans and fans inside the V stitches. I'm going to do this until I come to this other side, so I will meet you here to show you how we're going to finish this first row. Okay, I'm here at this other side of the leg. This is the first row. I did my last fan of this pattern. Now I have this V-stitch into this fan, so I'm going to also make a V-stitch here. Now, what I'm going to do next is I need to add 2 more V-stitches so that at the end I have a total of 18 stitches. So that means that if you added more chains here, make sure that you finish with an even number of stitches. If you have an odd number of stitches, your stitch pattern is not going to work in the next row. So here I have my V-stitch here, and what I can do here is right in the center where I have this chain, I can do 2 V-stitches. V-stitch number 1 and V-stitch number 2 into that same space. But I'm going to space mine out because I have only one chain in between. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into both of these double crochets where we divided the legs, and that is where I'm going to make my V-stitches. So like this, V-stitch number 1 and V-stitch number 2. You can do them either way, right in the center 2 V-stitches, or like I did on each side like this. Now to finish, go here to the side of the 3 chains and join with a slip stitch. And here is the first row. Like I said, I have a total of 18 stitches, and just for reference, I have 11 V-stitches and I have 7 fans. You may have more if you added more chains here. Just make sure again that you have an even number of stitches once you're done with this first row if you have more chains here. Now for the second row, we're going to chain 4, and into this V-stitch here I'm going to make another V-stitch, but just for this row here because I want to now make sure that my pattern is correct. So I need to make a V-stitch here and a fan here now. Okay, and then V-stitch and so on. From here on, you're just going to continue with the pattern for the second row until you come here to about here. I will meet you right about here to show you how we're going to finish the second row. Okay, I'm here at this other side of the leg. This is the second row. Now I have the next 3 V-stitches here. So we're going to continue with the pattern. I have a V-stitch here. So into this next V-stitch, I need to make a fan. Into the next V-stitch, make a V-stitch. And into the third V-stitch here, the last one, make a fan. And now to finish this second row, we're going to go here to the side where we have these chains and join with a slip stitch. And here is the second row, which is perfect. Our pattern now is complete. From here on, we're going to continue with the same thing, just like we did here. Now, I have a total of 18 stitches all around. I have 9 fans and 9 V-stitches, just for reference. So from here on, for row 3, you're just going to repeat the 2 rows that we always do here. Remember, this one here is a V-stitch, so you need to start with a fan. So chain 3, and into this space here, make a double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochets. So remember, whatever you do here, when you do the first row, make sure that it's an even number of stitches. And just continue now for this third row all around, and I'm going to show you once again how to finish this row and then how to start the next so that you can continue and finish the rest of the leg here. I'll meet you at the end of this third row. Okay, I'm here at the end of the third row. Now to finish, we're going to go here to the side and join with a slip stitch. And this is how I finished this third row with a total of 18 stitches all around. Now from here on, we're just going to continue and repeat the same thing, just like we did here for this part. We're always going to either start with a fan or with a V-stitch. In the third row we started with a fan, so for this fourth row I need to start with a V-stitch. So make a slip stitch inside this chain 1 space, then chain 4, and then make a double crochet. And then we have a V-stitch, so now make a fan, and so on. From here on you already know how the pattern goes. So that's all we're going to do. We're just going to repeat these 2 rows, and we're always going to have 18 stitches. Now eventually we're going to have to make a reduction of 2 stitches right towards the middle of the leg, so that we can start to taper it down. I'm not exactly sure how many rows I'm going to do here, but continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many rows we're going to do before we make that reduction. So I will meet you at the end of that row. Okay, so far I have done 9 rows from here where we divided the leg. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now from here on, for the rest of the leg here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to not do any of the chain spaces either on the fans or on the V-stitches. So we're just going to make 2 double crochets and 4 double crochets for the fans. But we're going to treat it as if there was a space, because when we do the next row, in between the stitches is where you're going to do your fan or V-stitches. So let me show you here. So here I'm going to go into this chain 1 space and make a V-stitch. Now I'm going to chain 3, and into this space here I'm going to make a double crochet. So here's my V-stitch, and notice that I only did 3 chains instead of 4. Now into the V-stitch I'm going to make my fan, so I'm not going to make a chain space, so all I'm going to do is 4 double crochets. And into the next fan make a V-stitch, but only make 2 double crochets. See, like this. I'm not going to do any of the chain spaces in either the fan or the V-stitches. So you're going to make 4 double crochets for the fans and 2 double crochets for the V-stitches, like this. This is going to help reduce for the rest of the leg until we finish the leg. And it's an easier way for us to reduce rather than get rid of 2 fans, which is, in some cases, it doesn't tend to work. So here I'm going to place a stitch marker to mark this first row. That way I can tell you how many rows I'm going to do from here on. So continue like this all around. When you finish, this is what I mean where you're going to do your next stitch. For this fan, you need to do a V-stitch in the next row, so you're just going to open like this and make your V-stitch. And here's where you're going to make your fan, so just treat it as a space there and make your fan, and so on. You're just going to continue like that all around. Okay, so continue for the rest of the leg here, and I'll meet you once we're done to show you what we need to do next. Okay, I did a total of 11 rows. From here up to here, there's 11 rows, and then we had already done 9 rows here for this part. Now, in total, I have 20 rows. So now, for row 21, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, and here we're going to make a double crochet. In between these 2 double crochets, make 3 double crochets. In between the next 2, make 2 double crochets. In between the next 4, make 3 double crochets. This is how we're going to continue for this row 21. So continue, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay, I finished row 21 here at the end. I just joined to the beginning with a slip stitch, cut my yarn, and passed my yarn through this last loop, and this part here is done. Now it's measuring just the leg. Let me measure it for you. Let's see, from here up to the end, it's measuring about 22.5 centimeters, which is almost 9 inches. If you want to make this part here longer, you can just add more rows in the same way that we did this row here before we did the last row. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this white yarn, and we're going to work front post and back post half double crochets, just like I did here for the waistband, so that it matches. Okay, so here, insert your hook into this space here, into the same space where I did the slip stitch, and I'm going to pull a loop here with this white yarn, chain 1, and I'm going to make a front post half double crochet. So yarn over, make a front post half double crochet, back post half double crochet, front post half double crochet, back post half double crochet, and so on. You're just going to continue and alternate between front posts and back post half double crochets. Now you can also make double crochets, front post and back post double crochets, or you can also make single crochets. That would be another option. So you would just do maybe 5 or 6 rows of single crochets all around. Now when you finish this row, you're going to join here to the side where I have this chain with a slip stitch, chain 1, and then repeat the same thing, front post, back post, front post, back post, half double crochets, until we have a total of about 5 rows. I want to say 5 rows, I'm not sure. I think I'm going to do it the same height as this here. I did 5 rows here, 1 2 3 4 5, so I will probably do 5 rows, but continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many rows I'm going to do. So I'll meet you at the end of that row. Okay, I finished making this part. I did a total of 5 rows. Here at the end, let's just join to the beginning with a slip stitch, cut my yarn and pass my yarn through this last loop, and this leg here is done. Now you're going to do the exact same thing we did here. You're going to do it here on this other side. I'm going to show you the first 2 rows, and then you're going to continue and finish and do the rest. Now this part here, it's a bit long, but it's okay because what I plan to do is just fold it like this. This way the baby can wear it a bit longer and it doesn't really affect in any way. If you don't want it as long, then maybe do 1 or 2 rows less and then finish in the same way. So now we're going to go right here to this other leg. This is going to be the back side and this is going to be the right leg. Now insert your hook into the same V-stitch where we did this V-stitch to separate the crotch area. So insert your hook there, grab a loop, bring it through the front, and chain 3. And into this same space here, make a double crochet. Now we're going to go right in between the crotch area here, and for me, I did a V-stitch here and a V-stitch here, so I'm going to do the same here. V-stitch into this double crochet of the V-stitch, and then a V-stitch into this double crochet of this other V-stitch on the other side. Now into the fan here we have this V-stitch, so we're going to now make another V-stitch. So for this area I had 4 V-stitches, and here they are, 1 2 3 4. Now we're going to continue with the pattern for this side. We have 14 stitches here, so inside the V's we make fans, and inside the fans we make V-stitches. So you're just going to continue all around and repeat the pattern until you come to the end of this first row. Okay, so fan V all around. I'll meet you here at the end of this second row. Okay, I'm here at the end of this first row. This is the second leg. Now to finish here, we're going to go right here to the side of these 3 chains and join with a slip stitch. And this is how I finish this first row to the second leg. Now I have a total of 18 stitches all around. Just for reference, I have 11 V-stitches and 7 fans. Now for the second row, we're going to chain 4, and into this same stitch here, make a double crochet. Now into the next V-stitch right here, the second V-stitch, I'm going to make a fan. Into the third V-stitch, make a V-stitch. And into this fourth V-stitch, make a fan. Now we have this fan, so we're going to make a V-stitch. From here on, the pattern continues exactly in the same way. Fans and V-stitches. So continue all around for this second row. I will meet you at the end of this second row, right about here, to show you how to finish and then how to start your third row, and then the rest you're going to continue on your own. So I'll meet you at the end of this second row. Okay, I'm here at the end of this second row. Now to finish, go here to the side and join with a slip stitch. And this is how I finished this second row for the second leg. Now I have a total of 18 stitches all around. I have 9 fans and 9 V-stitches just for reference. Now for the third row, you're going to chain 3 here and make a fan here. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet here for this first part. And then we have a fan, so make a V-stitch and so on. From here on, you're just going to continue with the pattern. So fan V all around until you finish. When you finish, you're going to join here to the side with a slip stitch and then make a slip stitch inside the chain 1 space and then make your V-stitch. And then continue and repeat those 2 rows, which is exactly how we did it here on this other side. Remember that for this part, we did a total of 9 rows, and then here for a total of 11 rows, you're going to modify the fans and the V's where you don't add chains in between them. So continue, finish, and then I'll come back and show you the finished pants. Okay, I finished making this other leg. I did it exactly how I did the first one, so this is what it looks like. Now here I went ahead and folded this part. I think it's a tiny bit long, as well as the waistband. This is optional. If you want to leave it like this, it's okay. I just decided to go ahead and fold it down a little bit, and I went ahead and did this chain. This here is about 200 chains, and all I did was just weaved it here in between, and I also went through here in the back. It's a tiny bit long. This part here is a little bit long, but if you feel you don't need to fold this part, then just go ahead and leave it as it is. Now here's the finished pants. I did it to match the little cardigan sweater that I already showed you, this one here. If you want to see this tutorial, just click the little lamp down here next to my channel name. It'll take you to my main channel page. You'll find the tutorial there. Now here at the end of this chain, I went ahead and added this little pom-pom. All I did to make these little pom-poms is I wrapped the yarn around my 2 fingers like this, wrapped it around 50 times, and then I just tied them both sides together, and then I just cut them and shaped it. And then I tied the end here to the center, and this is what they look like. They're so cute. Now let me give you the finished measurements. So the finished measurements that I'm going to give you is without folding this part or the legs here, the bottom of the legs. So from the top of the waistband to the end here, it's measuring about 43.5 centimeters, which is about 17 inches. Just the top of the waist right here, just the top, it's measuring about 26 centimeters, which is about 10.25 inches. From the top of the waist to the middle of the crotch area, it's measuring about 23 centimeters, which is about 7.5 inches. And the leg, just the top here, this part here is measuring about 14 centimeters, which is about 5.5 inches. And from the crotch area to the end here of the leg, it's measuring about 25 centimeters, which is about 9.75 inches. So based on these measurements, these little pants are for baby girls between 9 and 12 months old. And certainly you can also make it smaller or bigger. I'd say between 6 and 9 months up to 24 months. Be sure to check out the information box below. I'll leave the information there. And then once I have the written pattern ready, I'll go ahead and also add it to my Etsy shop. I'll leave the link in the information box to my Etsy shop as well. Okay, so these pants are all done to match the little sweater as you all requested, so I hope you like this tutorial. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Until next time.